got it. Got this thing on now. What's going on, people? I am fixing to have some food here. And the only chance I've got to eat. And then I'll, I don't know, chat with you for a little bit. I was so tired yesterday. I think I did a horrible job on telling the story there, that Alex's story, that Alexander's story, that I don't know. I still haven't found my notebook, but I'm told I'll find it in time, right? Well, so there's that. I'm just sitting here having some chicken and a piece of pizza. I'll give some time for some people to get into the room. But yeah, but I did think of a couple things that, a couple things I forgot, and a couple things that I actually said wrong. One thing is, that well, the engine for the craft, I misquoted what he told me. What he said was that it wasn't like a nuclear power plant where it splits atoms, which is fission. It's more like the sun, which is fusion. So somehow it's a contained nuclear reaction thing that powers it. But anyway, I already got a like. I just got here. How you gonna like it when I haven't even done anything yet? So anyways, so yeah, so I said that wrong yesterday, but it's not what he told me. I just said it wrong. But also, I did forget to mention a few things he told me that you could probably look up. That he's made so much proof of his story, and he's going to bring me more proof. In fact, before he split, after I wrote all that stuff in the notebook, I was, at the same time he was telling me all this stuff, which is why it looks like a mess. It looks like a typewriter had an explosion in whatever, where I wrote all the way around the borders of these pages and stuff. I was writing down everything he was saying, but at the same time, I was writing on another page when I would think of a thought. I was doing two things at once. And because on the other page, I was like, all right, this guy says he's a time traveler dude or whatever. I'm like, okay, all right, I want proof, right? So what I did was I made a list, a really hard list. I had just woke up when he was leaving out, and so I had my thoughts about me. So I mean, I made a really hard list. I was like, okay, you're gonna say you can travel through time? Fine. Do this, 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 and this, and show me proof. I want proof, right? So basically, I made him a list and ripped it out of my notebook and gave it to him. And then he said, well, these are things that you want, and I've already been a lot of places. I've been everywhere. He said, what would you have me do? So I'm going to tell you people what's on that list as I can remember it, as best as I can remember it. I told him, I said, look, if that was my ship and I had time to go back in time, here's what I want you to do, because I can't do it. If you have time, in which he's got time in the world, he's got all the time in the world. I told him, I said, I want proof. Meet Jesus and bring me proof. And Mary and Jesus, you know. And then I said, and go meet Pontius Pilate. And then I said, find out what's up with the Kennedy assassination. I started laying into him, talking about, I said, go check out something about 9/11 and tell us something we don't know. I wrote down on a list, like, I don't know how many different points of order, or what you would call them, or places to go. And I was like, you know, I think I said, talked to Nostradamus. I gave a list, right? And then he says, as if it wasn't enough, as if he could just knock it out in the afternoon, he says, well, what do you have for me to do? Like he would be bored with it after he did it so quickly. So I don't know how much time it would take. That would take me forever because I'd be planning it, over planning it. But anyways, so he says, what would you have me do? I said, okay, fine. If you want something to do, well, if I was able to travel back in time and I wasn't trying to meet certain people, I'd go to the Colosseum in Rome and watch one of the, not a gladiator fight. I ain't trying to see people actually killing each other or getting eaten up by lions and shit, but you know, they had a show back then. It was a big thing. It was a big production, and they had elephants there, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? To my understanding of it, it was a big show in the Colosseum. So I said, go to the Colosseum. And then I said, okay, go find out who Leonardo da Vinci, who Leonardo da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa after. And I said, I'd already brought up Jesus and Mary. I said, you know, go see them and bring me proof. And then I said, you know, like Pilate, like Pontius Pilate. But there was something else. Oh, Nero. And I said, what did I say? For him to have something that if he went back in time, I forget what all. I wrote it all down. It was I was writing that at the same time that he was getting his stuff and ready to leave. He had all that electronics gear. And as I think back, I think I know what the electronics gear was about, because he said he had to boost the signal because it wasn't strong enough. This is something else that's proof that he's doing this shit, that you can look this up. Okay, in order to know that he doesn't change time, here's what he did. Because names change and languages change, he set up a repeater tower. He set up a whole industry over there. Here's what he did. He went back in time from his time where he was a child in Russia, going through school and stuff, and then, you know, to a young adult, and met and worked for the same people who were teaching him the ones he liked, and he picked the ones he liked, and he knew everything about their lives, so he quoted it to them, and he let a couple of them in on the secret, and the rest of them he didn't, but he got a job with the government as himself in time before he was even born. And he set up a government, what do you call it? Like a section of the government, like a department. He set up a department of something, and it was supposed to be so that time travelers could, its unofficial thing was just a beacon, like a lighthouse for spies. But what it really was for was to have a way that time travelers could find their way to that point, and to know that they had not changed the timeline with whatever they did. And everyone has to check in that goes anywhere and listen to that report. And the report has changed a few times, so the timeline has changed, but evidently it wasn't too drastic. Now you can listen to it right now on AM radio. It's a beacon from Russia. Okay, it's an AM radio broadcast from Russia, and it makes noises and stuff, but every once in a while they will spout out some names. He designed that because he said names change. Like if you look in the Bible, there's a name Rebecca, R-E-B-E-K-K-A-H. Well, that's how it's spelled right now. Who knows if that's changed, because it's already going to meet Jesus, right? Well, who knows? Well, what I'm saying is this. Back when they wrote in Hebrew, that's how it was written, and possibly Aramaic. But when it changed over to English, and then that was Old English. Now we have New English. But in Old English, O-L-D-E, Old English, the Bible was written completely different, and you wouldn't be able to understand it if you read it today. You can't read Old English unless you understand Latin. So having said that, Rebecca, Rebekkah, is in the Bible, in your Bible. You can look that name up. She gave water to the horses and to the camels. That's right. And Jesus also, Rebecca, at the well. Well, that made her a good woman. That's my understanding, is that was the story about her. If I'm not mistaken, that was about Rebecca. So now it's spelled Rebecca, Rebecca. Okay? So names change, even though it's the same name, right? Well, every once in a while, he has a person that works in this department that he created back in time, before there was even really radio stuff. He brought radio stuff. I saw him load up some of the stuff to make the signal stronger, but he had already built this tower and broadcast center and was taking from this time, from the future of that time, bringing back radio equipment that hadn't even been invented yet, so that he could have a ham transmitted signal. And every so often, a person who works in that department reads 5 or 6 names, and if they are the same, then when you went back in time and you come back, those names have not changed. If you go back in time and change something and come back and they've changed, you're supposed to be reprimanded. It's supposed to be something, but he is the only one that he knows that's doing this, until such time as they start using the same technology that's in that ship. So, but they wouldn't start a war with it later, but they could move through time. So he has that beacon, and it's been going for a long time. It's on an AM. I'll find a link to someone who's talking about the beacon. They call it something. I don't know. He says they know about it. He says it's already out, and it's already, everybody already knows about it. I didn't know about it, and so evidently maybe that changed in time. You know, you look back and things change. It's really weird. I don't know what, like, not like deja vu, but like, they call it the Mandela effect. Like, you think something was one way in a movie, but really it was something different. Let me turn this air down. I feel like I'm talking over it. But anyhow, so I'm sitting here eating cheese things and something. I'm just trying to eat, but I wanted to clear some things up. Is he is building proof throughout his life that he did these things. And one of the proofs is that he built that communications tower, but it's not communications. All it's doing is sending out a signal for no reason. But it's for a reason. And he had to boost it because he said one time he passed up that point in time. The second point of proof is time capsules. He has to bring with him a photograph for it to exist in the past. They had a photograph of Tunguska with a GPS coordinate and time stamp, only it was a little bit different on GPS then. It was before GPS satellites, so it was latitude and longitude to the best of their ability, and the time and date stamped on a picture of the forest before it was hit with the nuclear blast. Okay, but those people didn't know it was a nuclear blast, but they found out later after they sent the bomb back there to do it. Well, then there's another picture that was taken afterwards on that same date at that same time after it changed and all the trees are blown up, you know, in this present time. So in this present time, they took a picture with the little cabin there where they showed him where it was at. Not him, they showed the other guy that died. And but his whole job of getting the spacecraft, his friend helped him go get it, was to come back and if there's a problem with the ship, he was supposed to help his friend get back. So in doing that, his friend that was supposed to go back in time, bury the time capsule with the picture in it, and then come back, and then they'll dig it up and they'll take a picture and they'll see that if anything is different, so they know that he did travel back in time and change things. He blew that thing up. Well, because he died in the blast, he didn't come back. So he has been every year trying to go to that spot where he buried that time capsule before he blew his ship up, to see if he can save him and say, hey, don't press the microphone button because that activates the bomb. Well, for some reason, either the bomb changed something or did something to time or something, and every time he goes there and he tries to dig up where it is at, either it's already there, or he'll dig the hole. One time he dug the hole, and he come up with nothing. So he's been trying to save his friend. Now, these are all things he's told me every year that he tries to do that. Well, at one time he said he dug it and he looked down and it wasn't there, and then he looked up and he looked down again and it was there, but his friend was not there to put it in the hole. So there's some weird stuff going on with that. But the whole idea was that he was supposed to be able to bring his friend back if there was a problem, if he doesn't show back up. And so he's got all this proof with the tower that he created that makes AM signal now, that you can listen to now, that comes from Russia, and nobody knows what the hell it's for. They think maybe it's for spies, maybe it's for this. That's his signal, that's his handiwork. He made that. He created the whole department. And it's to help him as a beacon, kind of like a lighthouse, to help him find his way to that point. And also because someone speaks, every once in a while someone will speak out some names. If those names are the same names and have not changed, that means whatever he did in the past didn't change the timeline. So blowing up at Tunguska did change a few things, but that was the last thing they did, and they said they would never do it again. So basically, if they do it, it would be for a reason of war. But if they don't have the ability to do it right now, but they want that ship from him. They're trying to take him out and take his ship back. That's what's going on with that. And I forgot to mention that part. And I think I know what he was doing with the radio equipment now, because he said he was boosting the signal. I think I understand it now. And you can hear that signal all around the world. Anybody with a ham radio. It's called something like the squawk or something, or whatever. I'll try to find if someone is talking about that. I haven't listened to it. I've never heard it, but it's got names, and he come up with the names. And they've said that the names were the same, and then they changed to something else in our timeline. So something has happened a few different times. I don't know what, but it changed those names because the guy reading the names read different names. I'm trying to think of what else it was. Other than that, I gave him a list, so he's got to come up with some real good proof when he does give me that interview. He better come up with something good. I told him, I said, you better have proof. So and I gave him a list of things that I would go do and things that he could go do for like fun or something. I was like, hey, maybe you could go and watch Leonardo da Vinci paint, and find out who the Mona Lisa was painted after, and then find out what was it? I had a list. He's got the list. I ripped it off and gave it to him. So it was in such a hurry when he was ready to leave. So yeah, Alexander's got some work to do. He's probably already done it, evidently, right? So other than that, I'm sitting here eating. If anybody's got anything else you want to talk about, that was just on my mind, that I didn't want it to go out there that it was the same nuclear reaction or a different one than the sun. It's the same as the sun. It's different than our nuclear power plants. I was really tired yesterday. I didn't expect to do that live, and then I got that note. So just weird stuff, and I have heard in the past of people. I haven't really listened to a lot of programs about time travel. I was never interested in it much, but I've heard that it existed, and I've listened to maybe one program a long time ago about it, and it seemed really lame. It was like they're giving generic stuff, they're not giving proof. And so I told him, I grilled him real hard. I was like, hey, look, I want proof. Don't even talk to me if you ain't got proof, if you ain't got something really tangible. So I told him about the Kennedy thing, the assassination of President Kennedy, and that would be something I would check into. And I mean, look, if you got unlimited time, you could be all over the place, but he wants to help his friend out. But for some reason, something's stopping him from doing that. Some kind of a glitch or something. So, the order was that he was supposed to radio in as soon as he got done, burying the time capsule, and as soon as he was over that point. And there you go. So, but I'm just sitting here eating and chilling. I don't have a time machine, so I'll run the whole time, It'd be nice if I did. You can make all the comments you want, people. This is just, like I said, it's just something else that's on my mind about it. And I don't know where the notepad's at. I don't know. I've looked in here. I don't have a clue, but evidently I've come up with it. But he's got the list, and I told him I want proof of every single one of them that he can go to, or any of them that I just said any of them. I said, if you go to any of these and can bring me some proof, do that, you know. And evidently he has a way of making a lot of money. So I guess if you know stuff that happens, or where stuff's at, like say if they found a treasure ship and you had something that go underwater, I would say go down and get the gold, right? I don't know. A friend of mine, that Dirty White Boy, he is into treasure hunting and stuff, and knows about where gold places are and all the old stories of missing gold and stuff like that. I don't know where none of that's at. Maybe he's doing that. I don't know. Yeah, the guys in suits are looking for him. I guarantee you that. One of them's got some good cigars. No wrappers. I mean, those are expensive too. That was wasteful. I don't know where he got them. I gotta find out. I like to find out what kind they are. So yeah, so I'm just chilling out. I'm killing time for a bit. They say you have to take a break. I appreciate I got some likes there. That's pretty cool. 4 likes. Appreciate it. 4 times. And so yeah, if he comes and does the interview like he says he was going to, or will, or whatever, and hey, he better have some good proof. He better have some. It better be hard evidence, proof. You know. So I don't know if he's going to bring pictures or what he can do. I think he said that cell phones somehow get fried through time. He told me a lot of stuff. I took notes, and like I said, I wrote all around the borders and edges of like 8 or 10 pages, and wrote even small in the margin in between everywhere. And I gotta find that. There was so much intel on it, and it's been, like I said, over a year now. I don't even remember half of it, but I'm trying to rack my brain and think back to what it was that I wrote down, stuff he was saying. But there's certain kind of electronics that that will be not working and fried. So I don't think you can bring a cell phone and video, but maybe old-timey cameras work, or I don't know what it is. And what else did he say? Some weird stuff happens in a magnetic field, and that's what that ship creates. So, but yeah, so what are you guys up to? I don't know, man. I didn't even check. Did I get any comments here? Is anything going on here? I got nothing. Everybody's just listening. I guess it's interesting. I don't know. I'm just like I said, I'm just having some food. I got these cheese things, and there was a guy that was cutting this field over here. I took a picture of that field for the thing, of the video. He was on an old-timey Ford tractor, and I think it was the Jubilee one. I know that I had a great uncle had one of those, and it was a Jubilee. Is like, if you don't know what a Jubilee is, a long time ago, if you lost land back in the Bible days, if you lost land, even if you sold land to somebody, 50 years into the Jubilee, you get it back for free. It's really weird. Look that up. It's in your Bible. It's the way things are supposed to be now. It was the law of people. Was if you have land and your family lives on it, right? And you're on hard times, and you have to sell that land to make some money, or you owe someone, a debtor, and you give them that land. In 50 years from the date of the last Jubilee, not from the date you sold that, but whenever the last Jubilee was, like, it could be 5 years later, they know they have to give you that land back. And if you owe them money, you are, all of a sudden, you're no longer a debtor. You don't owe any money to people you owe money to. That happens every 50 years in the Jewish religion, in Jewish tradition. And so Ford named a tractor the Jubilee after that. You can look that up. It's in your Bible. You're supposed to be free, debt clear, every 50 years by what the Bible says. So if people were following the Bible, there wouldn't be lenders in the temple. There wouldn't be people with credit cards, because it's usury. And every 50 years, you would have no debt and you would owe nothing. And, you know, there you go. So I did tell him, you know, when we were talking, I told him hey, if it was me, I'd go in a year of Jubilee. I wouldn't go when they're having a famine or nothing. You wouldn't want to go when there's the plague. I said, stay away from the plague. You know, evidently we're having something like that in this timeline. So I don't know if he's got masks on his little ship or what, but, you know, evidently it's pretty big size. It's big enough to put the forklift battery on it. He says he takes the forks off of it and puts the forklift with the battery on it, and that's his little jump start. So I don't know if it was originally designed to have an alternator that charges itself up, or something's wrong with it, or if that's just what they had to do was have a battery source. Hell if I know. I wish I knew how things work. But I don't know. I did ask him, did it ride good? I was joking, just joking, because you ask about a truck driver, hey, does that thing ride good? Is it comfortable? You know, about a Freightliner or a Kenworth or a Peterbilt. And he said, yeah, it rides real good. So if you're wondering, it's not a bumpy ride. He said it rides like a Cadillac. That's why I said it was the Cadillac one, because he said the other one wasn't so manageable. So because it had been wrecked until they fixed it. So yeah, so there's that. And I don't know if anybody has shown good proof, but he's got Tunguska on his side. I mean, look, now he didn't do that, the other guy did, but you've got an explosion that happened in the power of a nuclear explosion. The magnitude of a nuclear explosion happened. There was no fragments of meteorite or dust or anything from space, anything ever found, not even impregnated in the rock. There was an event that it was in a place where no one would get hurt. They did that on purpose. And only the natives knew about it, and it was a hush-hush secret until finally someone went in there and started talking to the Native Americans. Oh yeah, look, or native Russians, native Siberians, I guess you call them. And they're like, yeah, look, there's this place, and they did that, and something happened there, and now nothing grows there. So I don't know if the field of the ship protected and kept some of the nuclear fallout, because you gotta understand, it was inside of a field next to a ship. It blew the ship up, and then the field stopped. But during that millisecond or second or whatever, it could have stopped radiation or burned it completely or whatever it did. I don't know if maybe there is radiation there. I don't know what will happen if you go to Tunguska with a Geiger counter. But probably would go off the chart, because Chernobyl's already radiated it. So that wouldn't be able to something you could probably even test to say for sure that there's no radiation, because there's background radiation all over Europe now since Chernobyl, and since the, you know, all the nuclear powered subs that they've sank out there. But if you could test it, and it would give a clean test or something, then, you know, and then you could later, like I said, you would have to be able to test it. I don't know what it would test for, high or low as far as background radiation, but I think the ship surely had an effect on the explosion, because it was carrying it inside of that field. And so what I think is that it's probably the radiation and whatever, that's why nothing else will grow there. They say nothing will grow. All them trees that were down, I guess that's why they don't use them for wood for a house too, is they're probably radiated. But something's wrong out there. Something's wrong with the dirt on like a microscopic level, or maybe an atomic level. So there's that, but then there's also, come to think of it, there's all those places out in the Middle East that have glass, and they say that looked like it was a nuclear explosion. And they talk about the Vimanas and stuff. There's books on these wooden ships that fly somehow in all the oral traditions of India. So look up Vimana, V-I-M-A-N-A, if you don't know about that, or maybe it's two N's, Vimana. And they also have, like I said, these fields of glass where some kind of a nuclear explosion happened in the desert, and all of the desert sand turned to a certain kind of glass that can only be made in a nuclear explosion. Not just regular glass. It's like a green colored glass, and it's all over. You can look on the internet and look up the green glass of the desert, and maybe some of them suitcase bombs, maybe he took them out there and detonated them. I don't know. I don't know what all happened out there. Something blew that up too, right? But the one they did in Tunguska was the size of Little Boy, is what he said. The ones that are out there on the desert floor could just be those missing suitcase bombs from Russia. Maybe he went and gathered them all up and got rid of them all, rather than people getting hurt. Because Russia is missing a bunch of them. No lie. You can look that up. We don't even know how many they made in the first place. I think they're missing something like 6 or 7 of them. Crazy, right? But just so you know, it's not really a suitcase like you carry around. They're lead lined. It would take like 2 or 3 people to carry them, and they would set off every nuclear Geiger counter, every detection system ever. You wouldn't get away with walking down the street with one or into anywhere with one. It would set off everything. So it would have to be in some kind of a, I don't know, well, his containment field. Yeah, there's that. So anyhow, I had a comment here, and I'm just, you know, telling what I was told. Like I said, this isn't even my story. This is Alexander's story. But let's see here. My uncle, Rear Admiral Roderick Milton, had to have known things that were top secret. He was on the ground floor of USA rockets, missile, and space programs. Wish I could talk to him now. Well, maybe we need to send Alexander and talk to him back when he was alive. You know, I mean, that can be done. If he ever shows up. But then I don't know if I'll see him after that. But I don't know how old he's going to be. I don't know how long it's going to take for him to do whatever he was doing. But I do know this: when he went back in time, he got a job, started his own agency, his whole damn agency, or department or whatever in Russia, of transmitting signals to himself, if that makes any sense. And it's out there, it's real. You can look right now on the internet. You can leave here and come back, or you could just, you know, after this is over, I'll try to find it. I was going to put the link to, God, what was it? I fell asleep, people. I had a long day, and I just went in the back and fell asleep. I've got to find that link. I said I was going to put a link up to something, but I'll find a link up to the repeater towers, the signal thing, and the whole department that he set up that everybody thinks is for spies. They don't know what it's for, and then they read names aloud, and it makes no sense to them, but it makes sense to this because he did that. And what was the other thing though? I was going to put a link up to some kind of a video that, if I could find one, on something I was talking about yesterday. I may have to re-listen to that video. Like I said, I'm a working person. I work a lot of hours, and I really have limited time for this, you know, for doing this. But I'm trying to bring it to you people. I mean, when there's news or something pops off, you know, I put that out and I teach about mechanical stuff. But he just showed up. Like I said, it's because I did that video on the nuclear subs that he found me. I didn't expect to do this kind of stuff. I've never been interested in time travel. I really haven't. I'm interested in, I used to listen to stories about UFOs and stuff from Art Bell. I really liked his programs, but I would always turn it off when they would talk about time travel. To be honest with you, I was never interested in it. And this guy found me, just rolled up on me and acted like he knew who I was, and I was at some point going to know him. And this, I'm like, what are you talking about, right? I thought he was a Russian spy. That's what I thought. Because I don't know. I don't even know how I still haven't figured out how the hell he can find me. But evidently he has that ability with something that he's got, and they'll never catch him. He's like a day ahead of him, or they're a day behind, or however you want to say it. Anyhow, I gotta take a drink real quick. I got a chocolate milk and some pizza here. It's a little bitty small personal one, and then I'm gonna get off this thing in a bit here, so I gotta get. But yeah, he lives a good life, evidently. I mean, if you could go anywhere, I would go. Man, it'd be crazy. I'd be going back in time to have a Neapolitan kind of pizza in Italy, you know, I'd be having some good food, that's for sure. But Rome was kind of dangerous. I'll tell you, I don't know what I would say about that. They just soon put you in the Coliseum and have you fight a lion and die as to look at you back then. They needed more people to do that crap. But I wouldn't watch that, but I would watch some of the shows they had in the Coliseum. Anyhow, I've got some comments here. Let's see. Oh, what's up, buddy? Oh, yeah, Matt Mendez. Let's see. You can see a pic of him talking with JFK on the back of the USS Conservation. Look him up and check his career out when you get time. Oh, I thought you were saying that there was a picture of Alexander with JFK, because I told him to go find out about that. Yeah, you know, there might be. Check your pictures and see if they change, man. He might be. I don't know what he's going to do. Here's what I told him. This is exactly what I told him. And you might laugh or you might think I'm a jerk. But this is what I told him. I told him, I said, you know, you can't really get close to JFK to tell him there's going to be something happen. They'd lock you up in a damn nut house. Plus, he's got a Secret Service and all. You can't get close to him without an appointment. This guy. I told him this. I said, I would do this. I would find Lee Harvey Oswald and knock him in the face. I would punch him in the damn nose. Just knock him out. Knock him clean out, and then he can't do nothing that day. I would do that. I would knock that sumbitch out. You know, but then it would change the timeline. So what can you do, right? What can you do? You know? You can't go back and save Abraham Lincoln. That would change the timeline. We'd have different presidents, different everything. You can't. There's a lot of things you could not do that you would want to do. I would be no good for time travel because I'd be doing everything wrong. I would do everything wrong on purpose. I would change, but then it would be probably worse because these people who have come up with inventions like the light bulb and electricity and, you know, air conditioning and stuff like that, and, you know, the diesel engine, these trucks that keep us going as a big society that needs lots of food and stuff. If they were never invented, we wouldn't be able to feed each other. We wouldn't be able to feed people. So you can't do what I would be no good. Don't get me near the craft, you know. And I asked him for pictures of the craft, and he can't give them to me. You know, back then, you know, like I said, that's the way he was saying it to me. This was a year ago. I'm trying to remember the conversations even that I had with him, but he can't give me any pictures even of the outside. I said, not just the inside, just the outside. Some kind of proof. He said, I can't do that. They can re-engineer it. They can backward engineer it from just a picture. I'm like, really? So, you know, he's trying to prolong it, I guess, as long as he can until there's peace everywhere, and until when they see it, then it just becomes a museum piece. And they're like, oh, yeah, we know about that technology. We got this and this. Here's what's going on, too, people. Understand something. They tried to hold back Tesla, Nikola Tesla, and they tried to erase him from history. It was an evil thing they did to that man, okay? They wanted him to die a pauper, and they tried to erase him from history. And they tried to say, oh, you can't send electricity through the air. That's impossible. Right? Right? Who agrees with me saying, or agrees with that person that said, oh, you can't send electricity through the air. It has to go through wires. Who agrees with that person that said that? Trying to hold Nikola Tesla back. Now, guess what? They stole his damn technology and they built a cell phone charger out of it. Now you can put a car on top of a pad in your garage, not touching it, and it will charge it, what? Through the air. He proved at Wardenclyffe and a couple of other places. He went up somewhere, I think it was in Kansas, and he needed their power plant. He did something, and he put a light bulb in the ground, something like a few 100 feet away from it, and the light bulb lit up through the ground. But when he turned it on, it killed all the transformers around, and it pissed off the electric company. And they said, you're going to have your people come in and repair it. He had to go and repair that. That's a true story about Nikola Tesla. He had to go and spend time with his people repairing it, or they were going to sue him for damaging, because they knew he was messing with power, and he fried all of the the generator and transformers or whatever in the power plant. But he needed that much power to create what he was trying to do. It was an experiment. And then he had a car that was running around that had no gas engine in it. It had an electric engine, and the only thing that was powering it was a box that he kept in the driver's seat with antennas on it. some kind of a microchip that he built or something that was in that, or some kind of a test tube bulb, whatever the hell it was, picked up electricity out of the atmosphere and ran that car, and he drove it all over the United States, and there's proof of it. He drove that electric car that he said it took power out of the ether. That's the air all around you. So there's technology out there that's crazy that our government has that we don't have. If they ever release patents on a lot of that stuff, our world's going to change. Maybe that's what he's talking about when he says things are going to change and be better. Maybe because they've already released the ability to charge your cell phone on top of something that it's not plugged up to. How the hell does that happen? It's through the air, just like Tesla said it could be. But they wanted to make him out to be a liar and crazy. They wanted to paint him as crazy, say he was a liar, say he was a no good and a pauper, and say that nothing he says is true, that you can't get electricity to go through air. Well, riddle me this one. How come you can buy a pad at Walmart and put your phone on it and it charges? Anytime you set something on something, keep this in mind. If you're even riding a bicycle at 60 miles an hour, once you get it up to about 60 miles an hour, unless you're like 400 pounds, you're riding on a thin layer of air at that point, which is how cars hydroplane on water. But the lighter you are, you begin to have a layer of air. If you put a phone on a counter space, there's air between it and that counter space. The molecules are so small, it looks like it's actually sitting on the counter, but it's sitting on air. It's not all touching, okay? And so, if you look at the truth of it, the phone on that charger isn't even touching that charger. It's sitting on molecules of air. The electricity goes through air. Now, it takes a higher amperage and this kind of stuff, and it's kind of like how the highline power workers, they have to be in a cage that is actually charged, or they will die from the static electricity that will electrocute them. Because your house has, like, your plug in your house is like 110. You could call it 115, but it's 110, and then you double that and change the phase to 220. 220 is for air conditioning, okay? Then you go to your box in your house, and you're getting into your house, double that, 440. So it's 110, 220, 440, right? 880, okay? It goes up from there exponentially. 880 is what you might see out there on the power lines outside your house. You get to them high power lines, it's millions of volts. Okay, I think it's 100,000 at least. It's up there. It depends on how close you are to the substation, because it loses power the further you go out from the substation. Power station, sorry. They have substations to boost it back up. So he proved that you don't have to have, if you have enough, what is it? That static electricity out of the air can be transformed with a transformer to have a high enough amperage to actually travel through air, not even using electric wires. And he had a car that he drove all over the United States that they tried to hide that too. But you can look it up. And he had a box with 2 antennas, and he had someone ride with him to prove it. They put it in some papers wouldn't put it in the paper. They were trying to make him out to be crazy. Well, he was so crazy that now you have a cell phone charger that through the air charges your phone, that you don't plug it up. How does that happen? It's not magic, it's science. So, like I said, maybe some of these technologies get out. Maybe our world gets better from that. I don't know. He wouldn't tell me, you know. But he does have some proof, and one of them is that radio program thing that he set up that's a repeater just for him, and it makes no sense to nobody, but it's about the names, because names change, and timelines, if they don't change, then it'll be the same name. But if he screwed up or whatever, he'll know it when he gets back there, and he listens for those names, and if they're the same, and he made up the names, or they were names that were being used by people, but he's the one that came up with the names. It's like 4 or 5 people's names. A couple are girls' names, I think a couple are boys' names, something like that. He come up with that idea. Because if there's any change at all that affects people, people will stop naming their children the same name. It's the weirdest thing. He said it's a phenomenon, but it's true and it happens. So that's why they, every once in a while, a reader will read out some names. It's not, part of it is a code for him, but mainly it's about the names not changing. I know this makes no sense. This is the proof that he left, though. That and the fact that they have a very large explosion in Tunguska that was not caused by a meteorite, that they did, went back in time and did. So there's that. There's time capsules that he left that have pictures beforehand and after of the Tunguska event, but on the same date. Like it was, if you went out and took a picture of it today, it would be all flat. If you time stamped it, put today, fine. But if you went to a different timeline and took a picture of it today, they would all be standing. He's got pictures of those. I don't know what kind of pictures he's going to get with JFK. Maybe a different angle with the video or something. I don't know. So what can you bring from the past to show for proof? I don't know, but he's going to come up with something, I guess. And I'm expecting it, because I told him, I said, we're not going for that. Look, if I'm going to talk about this, I want some hard proof. And like I said, when he started telling me about the tower that does that thing to him, and when he started talking about the Tunguska event, and then I was like, oh, that is proof, isn't it? So I think this is the only time traveler that I've heard of that has that kind of evidence that across time that can still be proven, because it's kind of hard to hide a nuclear explosion that takes out a couple of 100,000 acres of trees, decimated it, and nothing grows in the center of that place now. So yeah, it had an effect. But anyway, so like I don't want to dwell on that. I just was trying to, I guess, clarify, you know, because I messed up and said the wrong thing, but it wasn't what he told me. It was the wrong thing about the sun, you know, and it's his reactor is similar to the sun, but it's different than the dirty ones we use here on Earth that make a bad byproduct. It burns everything up, but it's got like a containment field around. That is the problem with nuclear fusion, is we can't do it yet, but he can. They're trying to get something close to it at CERN, not at the Hadron Collider. That's something different, but they're trying to create it at a place that makes a big static charge thing. It makes plasma, and they're trying to make it, but it's not a nuclear reaction like fission. They say you can't contain fission, and if you could, it might turn into a black hole. That's the whole science of all that shit. I don't want to bore you with that, but you know, different people study different things. I'll check out these comments though. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, he was the one that designed the Polaris missile and one of those heads in NASA in the 60s. Well, I'll tell you about NASA in the 60s. It started with NASA in the 40s. All of the Nazis, they didn't all die. They just moved. Some of them moved to Argentina, a lot of them, and some of them moved to NASA. And then some of them later got tried at tribunals in Israel, because Israel wasn't playing that shit, and they went and even picked some of them up in Argentina, and they believe Hitler went to Argentina too, and so there's that. So your history is a little bit skewed. It's not that it changed, it's not a different timeline, that you just got lied to. So anyways, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that there's proof and people saying that Hitler married Eva von Braun and then they committed suicide. No, he married them and then they went to Argentina. The bodies they had there didn't match, and the Russians supposedly had a skull of that, and then they also tested it recently, and it turns out to be a female. Kind of hard to be Hitler if it's a female. Not even close. But they did have some bodies of some soldiers and stuff that they put out there. They put them in the clothes, they burned them. Oh, look, they're all burnt, whatever. That's what we were told to do. That's bullshit. So there's that, and plus there was an American soldier who saw Hitler after that going down the road in his car, and then for some reason his car is on a wrecker a long ways from his house, and they took a plane. And then they got on a U-boat, and the the U-boat took them to Argentina. But back to NASA, you know, they did some weird things too, and they were still kind of Nazis. You know, it's my understanding they did something in honor of Hitler's birthday and did some kind of a test on his birthday, and it was successful, and they dedicated it to Hitler or something. I heard that they did something one year on his birthday. It's weird. Von Braun, he was a Nazi. Well, then he's with NASA. So they went from NASA to Nazi to NASA. They should have made it NASA. But I mean, we needed a kickstart. We needed the help. They were good scientists at that kind of stuff, and they had that V2 rocket. And V stood for vengeance. They were shooting those things at England, at people, just people, not armies, just people. It's like vengeance. They were taking out vengeance because they were losing, and so they were just gonna take out people, which was really, really rude, to say the least. That's the London Blitz. You can look that up. That hadn't changed. Maybe, I don't know what it'd be. That would change a lot. So let's see here. I really like your channel and listen when you come on. Oh, appreciate that, WD. He worked with Von Braun, is what I was told. Yeah, and Von Braun has one thing right. In order to be in space, because it kills your bone density and you get the radiation and all that stuff, first off, we can't get past the Van Allen belt, so there's that. And second, you kind of have to have a form of artificial gravity, and he proposed building a big wheel in space that would have 2 different levels of gravity. You need that as a human to live in space. You need that artificial gravity. Unless you're in one of those spaceships that Alexander stole. It's got some built-in. It's got built-in something because of the magnetic field it creates. It creates its own artificial gravity. But it works almost like it's anti-gravity, but it's not anti-gravity. It doesn't matter how heavy it would be. It's like the sun. The sun has a field that it creates around itself, and it bends time and space. Einstein proved that because he took during a solar eclipse, he theorized it was true, and then during a solar eclipse a few years later, someone proved he was right. They took a telescope, there you go, a telescope, and during a solar eclipse, and with a filter, they saw stars that were on the opposite side of our sun that you should not be able to see because the sun should be blocking them. But during a solar eclipse, eclipse of the sun by the moon, a solar eclipse, you could see around the other side of the sun to stars that are, the light is bent around the sun because time, space, and light is bent around because of the gravity of the mass of the sun. If you can comprehend that, that's a lot to pick up on. It takes a while to learn that. It took me a while to learn that, but I'm telling you it's true. So someone proved that and proved Einstein right with that during a solar eclipse. You can look that up. So the sun makes its own gravitational and magnetic, but gravitational field that bends time and space and light. Those spacecraft, like Alexander stole, bend time and space and light, if it makes any sense. But he doesn't do it with gravity and mass. That thing does it with the engine, some kind of a magnetic field around what would be considered a sun, because it's a fusion reactor, creates space warp around it, a bend in time and space and light. And he can adjust it so that you can not see it at all. You see around it or through it. If you think about it, if it's not really through it, it's around it. So you see what's on the other side of it. Similar to what that scientist proved that could be done with the sun. If there's a solar eclipse, only he can make that ship do it while it's in front of you. You see around it or through it, whichever way you want to look at it, because it bends time and space to an infinite point. I don't know how to explain any more of that. Like I said, I've got all these notes. I've got to find that notebook. It's really good stuff. Maybe this is good stuff. Maybe this is good enough. I got 4 likes and 3 people in the room. So there's magical only 3 people, but a total of 4 likes. That's what they do to my numbers, by the way. They jack up my numbers. I've got proof of that because I showed there were 2,000 in the room, and they were actually showing that it was jumping from 2,000, and then it was 4. They lie. So, yeah, they're getting in trouble for that pretty soon. They need to lighten up on people and let people be free and see true numbers of what they got. Listen, they don't want to break the 2 million mark. I've got the true numbers where it shows that I've got over 2,250,000 people that have seen my channel and been on there and all that, and they're still holding it back at 195,000 or 1,995,000 or something. It's been stuck there forever because they don't want to give me that 2 million. They don't want to give me that 2 million. I'm telling you, they're messing with me. I don't care. So here's what it is. I'm putting it out there as truth. I'm just glad they give me a place to park my knowledge and the videos and stuff like that. And like I said, I did not intend to ever do anything on time travel, ever. This fell in my lap. And it's all because I was telling what I knew about the Russian nuclear subs, and they just happened to be using those subs not just to put down mines on the seafloor and do their seabed warfare, and to also tap, cut, and otherwise mess with communications lines and internet cables, undersea cables, and phone lines, but also they accidentally found a ship. Well, not yet, but they're going to, and then he has it. So I don't know the timeline on that ship, but I will say this. He can't tell me exactly because I guess because it would get him in trouble, but I'll ask him again. He'll probably shut me down. I mean, it's kind of like that. I can't get a picture of a ship. I can't, but there's things I can get. Like he told me about the radio thing, you know, back then, and about a year. I guess it's been about a year and a month ago. And I wrote all this stuff down. I scribbled it down as best as I could, real fast. I went all around the borders. It looked like garbage, like a typewriter exploded on a page. But I did the best I could. Now I have to find it, and then transcribe it again, and then make sense of it, and put in some kind of a cohesive, coherent order. And then I don't know, maybe I need to write a book about this stuff. I don't know. I ain't got really much time to do that. This will be my book. It'll be a video book. That's what they call vlogs, right? So, but yeah, but people, I'm gonna get off this thing. I hope this was, oh, what's the word? Not informative, entertaining, I guess. I don't know. And this is not my second video, but I guess there's gonna be this will be an addendum to the first. I guess there's gonna be a total of 4, but he told me there was 3. So maybe in the end I wind up putting this with the first video. That's what I thought about doing, was just adding this on to the first video and putting them together and then re-releasing it or something. And then the second one will be when I ever find the notebook. I'll go through all of it, and then I'll read all that stuff. And then the third one's an interview with him whenever in whatever time. Who knows? It could be 10 years from now. It could be yesterday, and I don't even remember it. No, it could be at any time. I don't know when. It's going to be after I do the one on the notebook. So anyhow, if you want to say anything else, I'll give you some time to chat it up in the comments, and then I'm gonna get off this thing. You get to see a tractor go by. This is a parade, evidently, where I'm at. There's an old. Well, he pulled over the side of the road, but he's still working. There's the tractor. So this is farming territory. That's the grain belt where your food comes from. Your food does not come from the big box store. It comes from land and dirt. I know some of y'all people know that. I know that. But there's some people that don't, believe it or not. Like the people up in Chaz. And I don't know what to say about that place. They chop down chop. And that's hilarious. But up here in the Midwest, they have good pizza. Little, I don't know, single pizzas. And I got some chicken pieces and a few more pieces of cheese and stuff. I'm gonna eat this and then I'm gonna get out of here. So I just thought I would add this to what I already did, because it was just on my mind. And for the most part, I'm a truck driver. This is, like I said, this is not. I never planned on talking about time travel. I know limited stuff about it except for what he told me, but he really told me a lot. So, you know, what can you do? Something falls in your lap, and then all of a sudden you, like this says, like the old saying, when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade. Because if you don't know what to do with something, hey, just make something out of it. Well, this kind of fell in my lap or at my feet or whatever you want to call it, and I figured I'd put it out. But I'll find a link to that tower. Matter of fact, when I get off this thing, I actually will do that, because I'm not, you know, fixing to shut down. I'm gonna spend a couple minutes. I'll find a link to that repeater tower he built and the whole project that he's doing on that. Be safe, man, and have a good day. You too, WD. And I appreciate everybody showing up and showing out. And hey, look, I'm not kicking nobody out. You can sleep. I always say you can sleep right there on the floorboard, but I gotta go. You know what I'm saying? We'll put a blanket on you. You can sleep right there. Ain't nobody gonna kick you out, but I gotta go. So you can watch the rewind and all that. And share my video, share my last video, and then share this video. If you're anywhere on social media, Facebook, Twitter, all them places, share that video and then share this one. People might like it. I don't know. Evidently, it's supposed to be something that is famous in Russia. Maybe it's because I talked about the Cossacks and they like are, you know, good national people that are protective of their own and stuff. And I'm with them. Every nation should love its own nation. The people should love their own nation and salute the flag that they're under. You know. Let's see. Maybe you took your notebook in time, and we'll put it back, and you can find it with your notes typed up. Only if he snuck in behind me, because the only thing I handed him was that paper. I ripped it out of my notebook, and it had a rip. It had a rip by wherever that notebook's at. It's got a piece of the paper that he's got. So he took that paper with him. He might have took that paper through time. If he did, it's gonna look like crap. I don't think he's gonna bring it back. Sure, he ain't gonna bring that back. It's a little paper. It's just a piece of paper with some stuff on it. Kind of like a bucket list. I put like a bucket list of, first I said stuff I would do if I had a time machine, and then I was like, because he says, well, what do I do for me? Is there anything you can think of? Because I was like, what are you talking? You gonna knock this out that quick? That's what I thought. I was like, okay, yeah, I got you some more stuff. Then I said, go catch a show at the Coliseum. You know what I'm saying? Like it's nothing, like it's a movie. Just go to the Coliseum in Rome and watch, you know, I wasn't thinking gladiators, but that's what they did mostly. But they had these big productions where there was elephants and crazy stuff, and the emperor would come out and stand up, and then they had like this huge Coliseum, like bigger than a football stadium, and they had these underground tunnels under the floor of the stadium. So while people are fighting up top, people were running around getting props and crap ready underground under them. I don't know how they were held up by pillars. That's the Coliseum in Rome. You can look that up. I was, yeah, go catch a show. That's got to be a good show, right? A good production where you got the king paying any amount of money just to have some kind of a big show. They didn't have cable. I don't even think they had rope back then. They didn't have rope or cable. No cable and no rope. They had string. They did have thread, but they didn't. No, they probably had ropes because they had boats. So, no cable, and no satellite TV. And if we keep going and Russia keeps going, I talked about the satellites. I'll put a link up to that video. We won't have satellite either. We won't have satellite, nothing. No GPS. They've got Russian satellites in space that attack other satellites, and they think we're not watching, but we're watching. So, all the ones that Elon Musk sent up, that's one way. Then we got CubeSats to back them up. But they need to leave our stuff alone. And China needs to quit running stuff into stuff and creating debris that's going to take everything out anyways. They're destroying space. I mean, they've destroyed their own country too. They don't have an EPA. That's why we get 440 grade stainless from there, because they don't have no rules to make that up to 770. But the chemicals destroy the land. And that's what I want to get to. I will make this comment. Someone riddle me this. We're in a coronavirus kind of a epidemic. Why did they spray all kinds of peroxide in the air mixed with some other stuff and water in the air in China? And all those people died. We're not spraying anything here. Our death rate's a lot lower. Do you think maybe the chemicals actually killed the people? You think maybe it helped them to not be able to breathe well? That they sprayed all that shit, that Chisol is what I'm calling it, because it was like a fake Lysol from China. It did make the fish jump out of the water, and they were getting coronavirus too, probably, because they say it's going to be fecal and all that. Eventually it'll be in the water everywhere, except for lakes. But think about it for a second. We're not spraying that stuff over here. We have the same epidemic. We're smart enough to have the same technology, we would hope. We want to think better, but they might have better. Why aren't we spraying chemicals in the air? And how come they've got such a high death rate? A little mystery for you, for your mystery theater. So I'll put this up as a mystery theater just for that. But no, anyhow, y'all have a good one. Think about that, because I don't know the answer to that one. And y'all stay safe. I'm gonna get off this thing. Share my videos, you know, because they're blocking you. And guess what? They took away the bell. So even if you click the bell, there's no more bell. What the hell, YouTube? There's no more bell, right? They don't want people getting notifications. No one gets notifications when I do anything. So share this everywhere and blow it up and make it happen. It does help me. You know, give me enough money for coffee and then I'll think straight. You get a better videos, great stuff. So I'm gonna get off this thing. I see I got 4. One came back in the room or something. I don't know. Maybe they were checking out what I was talking about the tower. I'm gonna put links up. Rewatch the video though. I'm getting off this thing. Like I said, you don't have to leave. Nobody's kicking you out. But I gotta go. Stay safe. I'm gonna put up the links and they'll be in the comments below. I'm out. Peace.